It is now my pleasure to introduce the senior class speaker, Joshua Coverdale. Joshua is a FAV major who shares life events through storytelling to create works, about inequality of the Black experience. His thesis, a 5-episode docuseries called Work Ethic, in conversation with 5 artists, celebrates the artistic talent of 5 RISD artists, challenging the expectation to represent race-related trauma and instead emphasizing new narratives and personal voices. This fall, he will be attending Northwestern University's MFA program in documentary media. Please welcome Joshua.
Thank you, and I am very grateful to be here with all of you today. Thank you, Provost Kleiman, President Williams, faculty, students, family, RISD's dining services, special collections. Hey, Tiffany. Thank you, Jolie. Hey, Ariel and Claudia, and so many more that I forget to mention, and also my amazing production who has helped along the way for my senior thesis. I also want to give a special thank you to Lucas as well. Thank you. Here we go, Season 1, Episode 6, my own story, action. While I was growing up, every day after school, I would visit my grandfather. He lived in the same apartment building as me in Yonkers, New York. I would find him there on the couch in his overalls, watching Jeopardy in one room, hearing Wheel of Fortune in the other, the smell of tilapia fish, and I'd be sitting there, playing Legos or eating a snack on the boysenberry carpet. I still remember it. Then the stories would begin. My grandfather loved telling stories. He would talk about the segregation he experienced growing up in Birmingham, Alabama, about serving in the military, about being the 32nd degree Mason, past master, Shriner, and about how he loved his job as a retired crossing guard and what it meant to him to give back to the community, right? He did. He often reminded me that justice moves backwards in some places and forward in others, that history is inconsistent, incomplete, full of regression and progression. He had such a rich, holistic perspective of this world through its triumphs and through its rebels. It was really tough coming in here today because my grandfather passed away last year from COVID-19, the beast. He was my best friend and the man that taught me everything I know and I knew. I always regret that I never made a documentary about him, about his stories, and about what he taught me through these stories, which is this: we must fight for what we believe in so that we can all get to that better place. After 4 years at RISD, I understand this profound lesson more now than I ever did before. Class of 2022, we are the transitional generation that has fought hard and tirelessly. And yes, We are finally seeing advances in principle of diversity and inclusion and real change that has not previously existed. This process took years. Now hold on. Look, listen. I want to tell you a few stories. Let me dial back for a minute. For the past 2 years, I worked in archives and special collections at the RISD library. One day, the archivist, Andy Martinez, was thrilled to share an article with me about Black student activism that dates back to the 1960s. Back then, students were asking for the same things then that we are now, calling out the need for more Black faculty, right? They were calling out the need for the need for more inclusion, because the lack of diversity and the lack thereof was there. We needed more inclusion, and we needed a stronger sense of community. And when those students didn't like what was going on at RISD, they left when they couldn't tolerate the abuse anymore. That's really unfortunate. But it was nice to see that this archive was there in the special collections. The information was out of sight, but not lost. Right before I arrived at RISD, in 2016, students organized the famous Not Your Token protest and Room of Silence documentary. I was grateful that the information was there, something to go back to. Last year, a group of students, including myself, had the chance to select and post this lineage of student leadership, and this huge lineage of information on the RISD's website. Now, we have the stories, a timeline, a history, a place to begin as we reclaim a sense of self. Regardless of progress since 2016, I want to share another story with you that I will never forget, something that I always remembered up until this moment. I remember it as if it was yesterday. A professor insinuated again and again that I wasn't articulating myself, I wasn't showing creative development each week, and that I did not belong at the prestige Rhode Island School of Design. I'm sure she regrets that now, though. I knew I had things to improve on, but so does all of us. The difference wasn't between our work, but between ourselves. And with that in mind, I was the only Black student in that foundations class. I thought about that experience for a long time. As demoralizing as it was, it showed me that you cannot allow those demeaning and discouraging voices to affect your growth. Class of 2022, you're gonna have people tell you that your experiences are invalid. But I'm here to tell you, you must stand in your truth. Stand firmly in what you believe in. If something's not right, speak out against it. And me standing here today is a testimony to that, which is why I'm so grateful. Now, a year later, after hearing other similar stories, I gathered about 50 students of color for a meeting where we discussed our experiences on campus and started creating plans for a more equitable learning environment. If you can believe it or not, this took place the same day RISD announced their evacuation due to the pandemic. But you know what? We were all home, but the fight didn't stop, excuse me. Late that spring, a group of students organized the online RISD and Race Forum in the wake of the Black Lives Matter movement and the passing of George Floyd. Their reflections and testimonies about racist experience reach all levels at RISD and RISD's administration directly. They were tasked with an assignment. They were told to only listen and not speak. And there was so much power in that, because when you listen to those who have serious problems and are facing serious experiences, you want to find resolutions to help and to have a suitable environment for us all. They talked about toxic crit culture, the need for more faculty to identify with, expanding the curriculum to be more representative. This bold act finally got the attention. And we started to see a shift in RISD's paradigm alongside the greatest social movement in history. We saw the hiring of POC faculty, and now, amazingly, the induction this spring of Crystal Williams, RISD's first Black female president. Excuse me. It took grueling labor, courageous discourse, and an incredibly determined student body to produce these beautiful results and begin to address our impaired past. For a long time, I have fought this progress with zero expectations. I like to call it doing the dirty work, no matter what the result. And this is what my grandfather called showing up. And you know why we show up? It's because we care. And when we do see that change, boy, I must admit, it feels good. My grandfather's powerful stories about his honorable civil rights journey instilled my tenacity to fight for my beliefs and for those around me. If I could have asked my grandfather something, I would have asked, can I make a documentary with you? And I would have asked him a few questions after that. I would have said, Granddad, you saw segregation up close. You saw racial tension at its worst. How did you see the light at the end of the tunnel? You know, I was never really able to ask him that on camera, but I believe I know the answer. Granddad, you were that light. And I hope I can be as amazing and honorable as you. I don't want to fill your shoes, but I want to do it in my own way. The light is there. Keep going. My experiences at RISD showed me that. The subject matters in my docuseries showed me that. Najari Anderson, Vivi Burns, Beyonce Armstrong, Taj Richardson, Jada Akota. Thank you for allowing me into your lives and trusting me with your story. Thank you. And we are all part of the African diaspora. We all have such different stories, but similar experiences. And we learned from each other. I really appreciate it. You really helped in my grieving process too. Now that is a wrap to my perfect story. But before I close out today, I'm going to do my last look, listen. Look, listen. I want to ask all of you something. I want to open this question up to all of you. What is your story? Everyone in this room has stories, and we can learn from each other's stories. At RISD, this is the work that we do. We tell our own stories, and we tell each other's, so that we can learn together and reimagine the world as young creatives and upcoming visionaries. Our experience at RISD has given us the tools and language to communicate with a world that still has so much learning to do. Now, lastly, oh wow, I will not miss those 8-hour studio courses from freshman year or being caught on the RISD Asleep Instagram. I'm so glad I don't have to be caught doing that. I was so tired, but we all worked so hard. But I'll tell you something. I know we're ready. Let's go. Come on now, or as my grandfather used to say, Joshua, it's your granddad. I'm calling to check on you to see how you're doing. It's Friday. I'll catch you later. He always loved saying, I'll catch you later. Class of 2022, I'll catch you later. And Granddad, I'll catch you later.